Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into something strange and strangely quiet. You're in the middle of the desert, boots sticking slightly to the gravel, with the scent of hot metal and powdered orange drink clinging to your skin. The sun's too bright. Everything smells like dust and burned plastic. You're 900 miles from home, writing a letter no one asked for, on military-issue notepaper that's already started to curl at the corners. You probably won't survive this war, at least not the same version of you that boarded the plane. But you brought 3 pens, 1 spiral notebook, and a naive belief that writing would help. That counts for something. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You start the first letter on the 3rd day. The first 2 days blur into a slideshow of form, sandbag walls, camel spiders the size of chihuahuas, and a guy named Tucker showing everyone his tattoo of SpongeBob with an M4 rifle. Nobody's sure if it's a joke. You aren't sure you're allowed to laugh. You sit on a crate of something labeled "not food," lean your elbow on your knee and start with, "Hey." Then you scratch that out. "Dear." That feels wrong too. Eventually you settle on the name, her name, and your hand steadies. This is the part no one tells you about deployment. Not the gear or the training or how to urinate near live fire. No, it's that you suddenly become a poet. Every grunt with a rifle starts crafting metaphors about sunrises over motor pools. You begin writing things like, "The sand feels like ash in my teeth," or "Today, the air smelled like burnt skin and cinnamon gum." Historians agree. The Iraq War began in 2003, under the pretense of weapons that were never found. What they rarely agree on is how the war shaped the inner worlds of the people who fought it. How many began journaling, praying, or folding letters into origami just to stay sane. You're not sure if it's sanity you're preserving or memory. You write about the heat, about the Chow Hall biscuits that could double as hockey pucks, about the wild dogs that roam the wire at night, how they seem smarter than half your platoon. You joke about sand showing up in places sand should never be, and how the toilets have instructions written in 4 languages but still overflow. And then you get quiet. You mention her hair, the way she used to hum when she folded laundry. You don't say you miss her, but it's all there, between the lines. When you're done, you look down and realize you've been holding your breath. There's no mail collection point yet. The base is still a half-built sprawl of containers and plywood. But you ask around and someone says, "Toss it in the bin near the sat phone." So you do, and you think that's that. Except the bin's overflowing. Letters without stamps. Envelopes addressed to people with names like Mom or anyone. No one tells you if they ever get sent. It's like writing into a wishing well. Later that night, you lay on your cot under a net of mosquito mesh and hear Tucker whisper to someone, "You think she's waiting for you, man." And the guy says, "I hope she thinks I'm already dead." It's easier that way. You close your eyes and picture her face. Not the last time you saw her. Not that tear-stained airport scene. No, you imagine her making eggs in the morning, humming, hair tied up in that messy bun that always made her look like she had secrets. You don't sleep much. The next day, you write again. Shorter this time. "I'm okay." You lie. "We're just building tents and burning things we don't understand." You don't mention the IED rumors, or the way your sergeant said, "Keep your letters light. No one back home needs nightmares." So you keep them light. You write about a guy who tried to iron his uniform using a pot lid and a Zippo. You write about the child you saw selling sodas outside the wire, who spoke better English than your lieutenant. You write about the stars, how they seem closer here, like they're just out of reach. There's a theory, you recall, that stars are just holes poked in the sky by the dead, looking down. You don't write that part. Too dark. On day 5, You find the first reply waiting in your cot, only it's not for you. It's for someone named Briggs, scrawled in looping script on the front. You turn it over in your hand like a fragile relic, and something strange happens. You want to open it, just to know what it says, just to remember what love looks like in ink. You don't. You tuck it into your rucksack, like it's a shared secret. Later you ask if anyone's seen Briggs. No one has. The desert erases names as fast as it burns them into dog tags. There's a story floating around the base that Saddam once wrote romantic poetry under a fake name, and that some of it was actually decent. Historians still debate whether it's true or just bored troops trying to humanize a dictator. You wonder if writing love letters in wartime has always been a kind of madness, or maybe a rebellion. Either way, you write one more, and this time you sign it with your real name. Then you fold it, slide it into your pocket, and whisper, "For later." The letter you wrote yesterday is still in your pocket. You've folded it 4 times now, the edges softening with sweat and friction. It doesn't feel like a message anymore. It feels like a charm, like if you carry it close enough to your heart, maybe the war will keep missing. You try to drop it into the outgoing bin before morning chow, but something in your chest goes rigid, and your hand hesitates. You pretend to stretch, scratch your neck, then keep walking like nothing happened. The bin already looks fuller than yesterday. Some of the envelopes are sun-bleached, their ink blurred by sand or rain. There's a half-crushed one on top that just says, "To my dumb, beautiful husband." You feel a weird pang of jealousy, even though you don't know the sender or the dumb, beautiful husband in question. Later, while filling sandbags in the preposterous heat, you hear a guy say, "The mail's a one-way ghost train out here." You're not sure if it's poetry or sarcasm. The desert, meanwhile, doesn't care. It just keeps blowing wind into your ears like it's trying to whisper secrets it knows you won't like. Fact time. Iraq has 2 distinct seasons. Hot. And are you kidding me? In the summer it can reach up to 120 stokas and gasi. Foranan wai sagarisum. And that's in the shade, which doesn't exist. You learn this the hard way when you burn your forearm on the side of a Humvee. It smells like bacon. You try to laugh. It sounds like choking. You write again that night, even though nothing new happened. That's the thing about war no one explains. It's mostly repetition and waiting, like being trapped in the world's worst DMV, except sometimes someone tries to blow it up. You write about the wind. Again, and the chow. Again, and how a guy in your unit swears his iPod plays Nickelback on shuffle, even when it's off. You pause mid-sentence and stare at the blankness that follows the word you. You meant to say her name, but now it feels like saying it would make the silence echo. So you just write, "You'd hate this place. The sunsets are pretty though, but they smell like jet fuel." You finish the letter, seal it, carry it in your boot for 3 days because there's still no mail truck. No one talks about the letters much, except when the chaplain walks by. Then everyone suddenly has a pen in hand and an innocent look on their face. You think it's kind of funny. You also think it's kind of sad. One guy writes letters to his ex every day. He calls her Muffin. That's not a joke. He signs off with, "Forever your bear." Someone should stop him. No one does. You try once to write a letter to your mom instead, just to mix things up. But halfway through, you write something about a dead dog in the road and realize you can't send that. So you ball it up and toss it into the burn barrel. It flares for a second, then vanishes. Fire's honest. You mumble, not knowing what you mean, but liking how it sounds. Curiosity. Sidebar. Some soldiers used to scent their letters, either rubbing them with their cologne or sealing in bits of soap. It was a way to make something physical travel with the paper. You try it once, rubbing a corner with the last bit of deodorant you have. It makes your whole rucksack smell like desperation and mint. On day 12, There's a dust storm. It rolls in like a monster from a movie, swallowing the horizon in red and yellow haze. You pull your neck gaiter over your face and stumble back to the tent, blind and swearing. Inside, everything's coated in grit, including your newest letter, now tattooed with sand like a war-scarred postcard. You keep writing anyway. This place feels like the moon got divorced and moved to Earth. You pause, you smile. That night, someone says the mail truck came while you were sleeping. You sprint. Your foot hits a rock. You almost eat sand, but keep going. When you get there, the bin is empty. The letters are gone, but nothing's arrived. Your name isn't on the list. Neither is anyone else's. The driver shrugs. "It's Iraq, man," he says. "The wind probably stole your girlfriend's response." You laugh, but your chest tightens. Someone mutters, "They probably lost the whole bag again." And yeah, that happens. During the 2003-2005 years especially, hundreds of letters were lost in transit. Sandstorms, bad labeling, or just bureaucratic oblivion. Entire satchels went missing, only to be found years later in dusty corners of army depots or civilian post offices in Germany. Historians still debate whether the military underestimated the volume or the vulnerability of handwritten mail during wartime, or if it was simply too much, too human, for a machine built to prioritize ammo and fuel. You lie awake that night. You picture that first letter drifting in the dark, riding inside some convoy truck across a desert highway. You imagine it getting dropped into the wrong pouch. You picture someone else reading it. Then, a darker thought. Maybe it was never picked up at all. Maybe it's still sitting in that overflowing bin, faded and ignored, buried beneath letters from 1,000 other yous. The next morning, you walk past the mail point without stopping. You tell yourself you're done. But later, in the motor pool, while waiting for a busted fuel line to be fixed, you pull a notepad from your cargo pocket and begin again. You don't write, "Dear." You just start with, "You won't believe what this guy did with a camel." You start the letter with a story about a camel because the alternative is telling the truth. The truth is, your unit lost someone this morning. He stepped where he shouldn't have. The explosion was small, as far as explosions go. More noise than fire, but it left behind a crater, a ruined boot, and silence, the kind that stretches for miles. You don't write that part. Instead, you talk about how someone in the unit tried to ride a camel for $5. The camel won, easily. You write, "There's video. I'll show you when I get back." You don't believe that line, but it looks nice on paper. Later, you find yourself alone behind the laundry tent, smoking a cigarette you don't remember asking for. The night hums with diesel generators, and the occasional laugh from somewhere distant. Your boots are untied. You stare at the horizon like it owes you something. A half page into your latest letter. You stop writing. You don't fold it. You don't crumple it. You just sit there, pen hovering, thinking about everything you didn't say. There's a strange comfort in the idea that the letters might never arrive, like it frees you to be more honest. Like secrets spoken into a locked box don't count as confessions. So this time, you go for it. You write, "I think I'm afraid of forgetting who I was before this." I think I'm afraid you already have. You stare at that sentence. It stares back. Then you sign it. Not with your name, but with the words, "Always, somewhere." You don't send that one either. You tuck it under your mattress like a stolen prayer. Historical side note, during the Iraq War, especially in its early years, mail delivery was chaotic. Some bases had working systems. Others relied on convoy schedules, handwritten labels, or a bored corporal with a clipboard. Troops often waited weeks or months to receive a single letter, if it ever came. And still, they wrote. Letters, journals, notebooks full of folded grief and half-hearted jokes. It became a ritual, a coping mechanism, a form of resistance. You remember hearing someone say, "If I stop writing, I'll stop being real." Tonight you believe that, Someone reads aloud a Dear John letter they got. Well, kind of. The sender just wrote, "I waited 3 weeks, and you didn't write, so I figured we were over. 3 weeks. That's all it took." The room laughs, but the guy just nods and quietly says, "Fair enough. After lights out, you can't sleep. You think about how small your handwriting's gotten, how much space you leave at the margins now, just in case. You flip through your notebook and realize you've written more in 2 weeks of deployment than in your last 2 years back home. You think about how, if someone found these someday, they might read your life out of order, might mistake your jokes for peace, and your silences for boredom. You write one more line. "Today, I missed the way you always tap twice on a table before standing up, like you're trying to knock before exiting reality." That's the kind of sentence you don't say out loud. You fold it and slide it into the same sock as yesterday's. Your sock now has more emotional weight than your rucksack. Curiosity moment. Did you know ancient Egyptians used a kind of early postal service where messengers carried letters between temples and cities? Some even had wax-sealed love poems, complete with pet names like My Lotus Flower and Honey of the Gods. Humanity's been oversharing for centuries. In the morning, your lieutenant catches you staring into space and says, "You writing Shakespeare in your head again, or just trying to look mysterious?" You grin, both. Later that day, there's another firefight near the outer road. You're not in it. You just hear it. The crack of rifles, the deeper boom of something heavier. It fades, like thunder rolling away from a storm you didn't ask to be near. You write, "I heard fighting today. It was far, but it still shook something in me, something loose." You pause. "I hope you're safe. I hope you're warm. I hope you still remember my laugh." You don't reread it. You just fold it, seal it, and drop it into the bin this time, fast, before you can change your mind. You stand there a minute, watching it settle among the others like a paper soldier going off to war. Someone behind you says, "Mail run won't be for days." You shrug. Doesn't matter, but it does. That night, someone passes around a packet of hot cocoa they found in a care box from home. It's shared between 5 mugs and tastes like nostalgia. You take a sip and feel 17 again. Then, out of nowhere, you hear the softest voice say, "I'd write letters I'll never send, just to remember how to feel." You don't look up. You just say, "Me too." You find it buried in the sand like treasure or a trap. It's a notebook, half buried near the checkpoint, where yesterday someone's boots were still sitting, laces tied, like they'd been politely left behind. The cover's soft with grime, the spiral bent. The first few pages are torn. The ink runs like it tried to escape. You flip it open. The writing's neat, maybe even careful, and definitely not yours. Not Tucker's either. He writes like a caffeinated chicken. This, though, it's delicate. Clean loops, small print. You read the first few lines. "Dear M, if I make it home, I'm going to build that stupid bookshelf you kept asking for, even if it still leans sideways." You blink and keep reading. It's loud here tonight. Loud in the way silence can be. Do you ever feel that? It hits harder than you expect, like stepping on an old toy and suddenly remembering the Christmas you got it. You look around, make sure no one's watching, then flip ahead. There are 6 letters in total, each dated, none of them signed with a name. Whoever wrote them didn't send them. Whoever wrote them probably didn't leave with them either. You don't know what to do with the notebook. You hold it for a while like it might get lighter. It doesn't, so you tuck it into your vest, close to the Kevlar, close to your chest. Someone calls your name. You pretend you didn't hear. History moment. During the Iraq War, many soldiers kept personal notebooks tucked in their gear. Some never meant to send what they wrote. These journals, now collected in libraries, archives, or forgotten footlockers, give voice to a war often silenced by politics. They weren't official. They weren't filtered. And that made them sacred. You sit alone in the motor pool, flipping through the notebook again. The last letter is barely legible. I had a dream that I came home and forgot your face. I kept describing it wrong. You kept correcting me, but your voice sounded like mine. You snap it shut. It feels like reading someone's dreams is a kind of theft, but it also feels like being handed a mirror, a blurry one. You reach for your own notebook, but this time, you don't write your own letter. You answer theirs. Dear whoever you were, the shelf probably still leans. But if it was mine, I'd leave it that way, just to remember that nothing stands straight after war. You don't know what you're doing. You finish the letter, slide it into the back pocket of the original notebook. You pause, then press your thumb to the page, leaving a dusty smudge, a mark, a presence. The idea of sending it feels absurd, so instead you tuck the whole thing into a locked footlocker under your cot. It's not yours, but somehow you've inherited it. Curiosity flash. There's a real documented case of a love letter found in an Iraqi bunker, written by an American soldier and never sent. It was found years later by another unit during a sweep. The final line read, "If I don't come back, promise me you'll forget I ever made you wait." The soldier was never identified. The letter now sits in a museum archive, under glass, no return address. Later that week, your own letters stop trying so hard. You stop romanticizing things. You stop pretending the chow tastes like anything but regret. Your jokes get drier. Your memories get sharper. One letter is just a list. My socks are alive. The coffee is actually mud. We all smell like barbecue and no one's grilling. You end it with, "If you still love me after this list, we'll be fine." That one, you actually send. 3 days later, you wake up to the sound of someone sobbing. Not loud, just consistent, like rain on canvas. You don't ask. But that night, you add a new letter to the collection. Not yours. It's one of the originals, copied by hand, word for word, same careful handwriting, same unfinished ache. You leave it under someone's pillow. They never mention it, but they start writing again, too. Academic friction alert. Some war scholars argue that unsent letters were more psychologically important than received ones, that writing itself, not delivery, was the medicine. Others say that's too romantic, too optimistic, that it's just emotional triage, a bandage on a deeper hemorrhage. You're not a scholar, but tonight you believe the first group. You sit by the sandbags with Tucker, watching stars reappear after a rare, clear sky. "Think anyone's reading our stuff back home?" he asks. "Probably not," you reply. "But maybe they will later." Tucker grunts. "They better. I've been pouring my soul into these metaphors." You grin. "You spelled metaphors wrong." He shrugs. "Doesn't mean I don't have 'em." You both laugh. It's short and strange and good. Later alone, you find yourself writing in the back of the stranger's notebook again. "Today, we laughed. I don't know why that feels like betrayal." You don't send that one either. You just keep it, like all the rest. You try rewriting the first letter, the original one, the one you sealed with too much hope and not enough truth. It doesn't go well. You sit under a crude tarp stretched between two HESCO barriers, chewing on a pen cap like it owes you money, trying to remember how you even started the first time. The lines blur in your memory, like trying to recall a dream while brushing your teeth. You get as far as, "Hey, so," and then you stare. The sun is sinking, leaving that golden yellow hue that turns everything temporarily beautiful. Even this base that smells like armpits and burnt rice. You try again. This time, you begin with, "There's a flower out here that grows straight out of the sand. No shade, no water, no reason. I think you'd like it. It sounds poetic. Too poetic." You tear the page out and shove it in your boot. Then you start again. "I miss the sound of your voice when you're not trying to be patient with me." That one stays. You fold the page gently, like it's fragile. Then before sealing it, you press the petals of a little desert flower between the sheets. It crumbles slightly, leaving faint yellow dust that sticks to your fingers like pollen and memory. You don't know why you're doing it. Maybe because it feels like proof that something soft still exists here, that not everything is metal and anger. History whisper, the desert rose, a type of gypsum crystal found in Iraq, was often collected by soldiers during deployments. Some believed it brought luck. Others mailed it home as a gesture of beauty from a place known only for violence. The irony was never lost on them. You send the letter. This time, you don't hesitate. Later, someone tells you the mail truck driver is named Rami. He's Jordanian, speaks 4 languages, and listens to classic rock on a cassette deck held together with duct tape and dreams. Rami says he's delivered everything from wedding invitations to goat kidneys. You ask him if he believes the letters ever make it. He shrugs. Enough of them do. That's all you can hope for. Back at the tent, Tucker's constructing what he calls a fortified poetry corner. It's a folding chair surrounded by MRE boxes and sandbags, with a sign that reads, "Emotions welcome, sarcasm optional." You contribute a can of peaches and one of the stranger's copied letters, tucked beneath the seat cushion. The next day, someone leaves a poem there. No name, just this line: "If silence is safety, why do I keep whispering your name?" You laugh, then you feel like crying, then you laugh again. This place is messing with you. That night, under a weak flicker of headlamp light, you open your notebook and try something new. You don't write to her. You write to the war. "Dear war, I see what you're doing. You're trying to turn me into someone I don't recognize. Nice try." You close it. That one's just for you. Curiosity moment. The first known wartime love letters date back to ancient Mesopotamia. One clay tablet from 1800 BCE reads, "You have captured my heart, and I cannot sleep." Apparently, sleepless soldiers have been blaming love for over 3,100 years. Or maybe love just takes the fall for what war breaks. The flower in the letter doesn't survive the trip. A few weeks later, a package arrives. You rip it open with shaking hand. There's no letter inside, just a t-shirt that smells like your old detergent, and a small note. "I'm still reading your words. Keep sending them." You trace the handwriting. It's hers. Still the same slant, still the little flourish on the lowercase y. You want to dance. You want to scream. You want to immediately write her a 3-page analysis of your current emotional spiral. Instead, you just write, "The flower didn't make it, but I'm glad the words did." Debate break. Some academics argue that love letters from war zones served less to comfort the recipient than to preserve the writer, that they were acts of emotional survival. Others argue the opposite, that they were performances, hopeful projections written more for imagined readers than for real connection. Truth is, it's probably both. You volunteer for guard duty that night. While others sleep, you sit with your back to a concrete barrier, rifle across your lap, stars above your head. You think about how your letters are different now, how they used to try so hard to say the right thing. Now they just say thing. You whisper the lines aloud before sealing each envelope, just to hear them live once. I caught myself smiling today and thought it was an accident. I watched a convoy vanish into a dust cloud and realized that's what most memories do, too. I think part of me will always be here, like I dropped a sock behind the war and just never turned around. You smile. You don't know if she'll ever read them all, but that's okay. Some letters are meant to travel farther than they can receive. The letters are gone, not gone like sent, gone like vanished. It starts with your backpack, a routine supply run, dusty road, laughter in the Humvee. You hop out, stretch, crack your neck, crack a joke, and when you get back from unloading pallets of bottled water and not so fresh bread, it's gone. Not the truck, not your weapon, just your pack. At first you think Tucker's playing a prank. You check under the seat, behind the seat, in the supply trailer. Nothing. It was the smaller pack, the one you didn't need for combat, the one with your notebook, the letters, 5 of them, folded neatly, sealed. One still smelled faintly of lavender and motor oil. All gone. You tell yourself it doesn't matter, that they were just paper and ink, but your throat tightens anyway. Later you sit on the edge of your cot and realize you can remember exactly what each letter said, but not a single thing you wrote the week before you deployed, like the letters had become your actual memory. Tucker offers you a half-melted Snickers in sympathy. You take it, bite it. It tastes like regret and nougat. Historical fun fact: mail bags were often lost during the early Iraq War years, especially during base transitions. Convoys rerouted, helicopters repurposed. Sometimes, bags of personal letters were accidentally burned alongside classified trash. No official apology was ever issued, just paperwork. You try to rewrite one of the lost letters, but it's not the same. You get halfway through a sentence and realize you've changed. The you who wrote that letter doesn't exist anymore. He was softer, less tired, maybe a little more naive. You still try. You write. If you don't get this letter, just know that somewhere in Iraq, my handwriting is buried under someone's protein bars. You chuckle, then sigh. Someone in your unit finds your pack 2 days later, or rather what's left of it. It was tossed in a ditch near the outer wall, probably rifled through by kids or dogs, or just the wind itself. Your spare socks are missing, your extra toothpaste, your letters scattered, ripped, rained on. One page has tire tracks, another stained with something unnameable, but suspiciously ketchup adjacent. You collect what you can. 3 pages are salvageable. You dry them by hanging them on a string between 2 cots, like wet laundry. It looks poetic and tragic, which feels annoyingly appropriate. One letter reads only, "You're the only softness in this place." It flutters gently in the breeze, like a whisper, barely holding on. Curiosity sidebar. In 2004, a soldier named Ben accidentally mailed his half-written journal in a box meant for his parents. They published excerpts online, turning his sleep-deprived ramblings about sand, boredom, and love into an early viral blog. He later said, "I'm not mad. I think my socks are in a museum now." That night you write nothing. You just sit with your boot propped on a crate, watching Tucker teach a stray cat to fist bump. You both pretend this is a normal thing to do in a war zone. And honestly, it kind of is. You hear a helicopter in the distance and imagine it carrying a mailbag full of other people's hope, maybe even yours. If the timeline bent back on itself, you dream about the pack that night. In the dream, it's sitting in your childhood bedroom, completely untouched. You unzip it, and all your old letters flutter out like butterflies. Except when you pick one up, it's blank. Every page. The ink's just gone. You wake up, sweating. You grab your pen and immediately scrawl. "If I forget what I wrote to you, does that mean it didn't matter?" You stop, then write again. Or does it mean it mattered more than I can hold on to? You don't send that one either. You just fold it gently and place it inside an empty MRE sleeve, because it feels like the closest thing you have to protection now. Academic debate segment. Military psychologists argue that writing letters during wartime helps with emotional regulation and identity anchoring. Others suggest that losing letters, especially deeply personal ones, can feel like erasing a version of the self. There's still no consensus, but the anecdotes are plentiful. You make a new rule for yourself. Don't carry all the letters in one place anymore. From now on, you hide them. One behind a loose floorboard in the radio room, one inside the lining of your helmet bag, one in a plastic container marked "instant mashed potatoes," which no one will ever open by choice. You call it the archive. Tucker calls it weirdly romantic. You call it safe. Later that week, a new guy shows up. He's pale and twitchy and has a mole shaped like a comma near his left eye. He asks what you guys do for fun. Tucker says, write sad letters and name wild animals after X's. The new guy blinks. You say, we'll show you. And you do. You help him write his first letter. It's stiff and awkward. He ends it with, okay, bye. You smile and say, we'll work on your closings. You meet him on a Tuesday that feels like a Sunday. Too quiet, too warm, too slow. The sky's a dusty beige, and the chow hall ran out of actual coffee. So someone made a kind of war smoothie out of instant mix, electrolyte powder, and an unholy amount of sugar. You take one sip and consider enlisting in a different brand. That's when you notice the guy with 2 chest pockets. Everyone's got them, technically. Standard uniform design. But this guy uses them differently. He sits in the shade, near the barracks wall, legs stretched out, boots unlaced, flipping through 2 stacks of paper, one from the left pocket, one from the right. You ask what he's reading. He looks up and says, deadpan, one's love, one's loss. I like to keep them balanced. You sit next to him. He doesn't offer a name, just hands you one of the letters from his left pocket. It's simple, sweet, someone named Elise. She writes about the dog getting fat, and how the neighbor still mows his lawn in short shorts. There's a lipstick kiss on the corner, smudged, but present. Then he hands you a page from the right pocket, typed, stark, a casualty report. It lists a name, a time, a location. No adjectives, no lipstick. You hand them both back, slowly. He says, you don't get to pick what fills your pockets out here, just where you keep what. Historical note, many soldiers kept official paperwork and personal mementos in the same compartments, combat rosters beside wedding photos. Some said it reminded them what they were fighting for. Others said it just made both things heavier. You ask him why he keeps reading them. He shrugs. Because I'm scared I'll forget the people, and I'm more scared I won't. You don't ask more questions. Some truths don't want visitors. Later you start your own version of the 2-pocket method. Left pocket, letters from her. Right pocket, things you don't talk about. You write one more letter that night. It starts with, there's a guy here who balances grief and love like they're playing cards. I think he's winning, or at least still playing. You include a sketch of your cot setup, not because it's interesting, but because it's proof. Proof you existed. Proof that your pillowcase still smells faintly like dryer sheets from home. You sign it. Still here. Weird war fact. At least one soldier during the Iraq War mailed home a chunk of a concrete wall because it had his initials carved in it and smelled like diesel. The family had no idea what to do with it, so they used it as a doorstop for 10 years. Memory is resourceful. The next day, pocket guy's gone. Not gone like disappeared, gone like reassigned, or maybe rotated home, or maybe not. No one knows. His bunk is empty, no papers left behind. Just a small pile of sand on the sheet, as if the desert refused to let go without leaving something behind. You add him to your letter. He left no name, but too many words. You try to ask around, but people shrug. That's the rhythm of this place. People come, people vanish. No dramatic music, no credits. Just the sound of Velcro and boots on gravel. You decide not to balance your pockets anymore. It's not that you're ungrateful for the concept. It's that you realize you've been carrying your grief in every pocket, regardless. And love, well, that's been folded in your notebook all along. Academic tension. Some cultural theorists argue that soldiers ritualize emotion because war offers no script for vulnerability. So they invent their own through objects, letters, pocket systems, repeated phrases. It becomes performance. It becomes survival. You believe this. You also believe that tonight's chow hall meat is not legally meat. You write about that too. It's a short letter. If I die out here, it will be from this meatloaf, not mortar fire. Tell the VA. You smile. Humor helps. Tucker laughs when he hears it. Mail that one. Seriously. You do. It feels silly, but good. And somewhere between laughing about mystery meat and rereading Alessa's letter, yeah, you copied it. You realize something important, even if you don't know their full story. Elise, pocket guy, the ghostwriter who left his notebook. Just remembering a piece of someone is enough to keep something human alive. You write that down, tape it to the inside of your footlocker, just in case you forget. Mail call sounds like a game show announcement. Everyone stops what they're doing. Even the guy deadlifting a water jug pauses mid-rep. A corporal steps into the middle of the tent and yells names like he's drawing lottery tickets. Except most people lose. Thompson, Rivera, LeBlanc. You wait. Nothing. Johnson. Someone yells back. Which one? Doesn't say. You smirk. Then you don't. Then you go back to pretending you weren't hoping. You sit on your cot, watching a guy rip open a padded envelope like it contains gold bars. He pulls out a sleeve of Oreos, holds it up like an Oscar, and says, "I would kill for whoever sent me this." Everyone nods. Someone actually claps. Your name doesn't get called. Again. But tonight you don't write to her. You write to yourself. Dear me, stop checking the mail. Stop hoping every engine rumble is a delivery truck. Stop expecting someone back home to outright this war. You pause, then keep going. You're doing okay. You haven't forgotten how to smile, even if it's just when the portable toilet tips over with someone inside. You still hum when you shave. You're still here. You fold it, seal it, draw a stamp in the corner like a child. You write, from you to you. Priority, emotional. You stick it in the outgoing mail bin. Why? Because maybe some future version of you needs it more than you do right now. Historical insert. There's a documented trend of soldiers writing to themselves during long deployments. Some never mailed them, others did, and re-received their own words months later. For some, it was a joke. For others, it was an anchor. Something about the act of sending yourself something real. It mattered. A few days later, your mail finally comes. But it's not a letter. It's a package with your name, your handwriting. You blink. Someone thought it was real. Someone processed it, scanned it, logged it. It made the loop. You laugh so hard you cry. Tucker thinks you've lost it. He's not entirely wrong. You sit in the shade, open your own letter, and read it like it's from an old friend. Somehow, it lands harder this time, like the person who wrote it was smarter than the one reading it. You write another. Dear me again. Good job. Even if no one else says it, you send that one, too. Strange mail trivia. In 2006, a unit in Fallujah received a batch of letters addressed to soldiers from World War II. The mail had been trapped in a misfiled crate, untouched for over 60 years. Most of the recipients were long gone. The soldiers who read them cried anyway. You start a trend. Soon, other guys are writing to themselves. Sealed notes labeled, "Do not open," unless morale hits rock bottom. Some are jokes, some aren't. One guy mails himself a drawing of a burrito. Another, a marriage proposal written in code. You wonder what it says. You never ask. Your own letters pile up. Some you send, some you don't. You start noticing patterns in your writing. You always use the word still. Still here. Still trying. Still wondering. It's like a mantra of existence. You begin a letter to her, then change your mind. You write instead, "You'd be proud of me. I helped a guy clean his weapon without losing a spring." That counts as growth, right? You sign it. Future Domestic Partner of the Year. Academic digression. Researchers studying wartime correspondence often note that soldiers used humor as a shield. The darker the situation, the weirder the jokes. Some say it's the mind refusing to surrender. Others say it's just what happens when men are trapped together with heat, fear, and too much powdered cheese. That night, mail call happens again. Someone else's name gets shouted, but no one responds. The corporal repeats it. Still no reply. You recognize the name. A guy from 2 tents down. Gone now. Not fallen. Just transferred. Or rotated. Or, you know. No one says it, but no one touches the letter either. So you take it. You don't open it. You just hold it. Feel the weight. The reality of it. Later you place it under his old cot. Let someone else find it. Let them wonder if ghosts get mail. Final line tonight. You write one last note on a napkin and leave it taped to your own mirror. If you wake up tomorrow and forget who you are, just reread your handwriting. It remembers. You never thought a camel would make it into one of your letters, and yet, here it is, centerfold of today's story. A lanky, disgruntled creature with an expression that says, "I'm not paid enough for this," standing in front of a satellite dish, chewing with profound apathy as your squad poses around it, like it's the cast photo for the worst reality show in history. Someone yells, "Smile like you're not sweating through your bones." You raise your arms and give the peace sign. The camel yawns. The photo, printed with a smuggled Polaroid, turns out terrible. The lighting's all wrong, and you're pretty sure Tucker blinked. But it's the only color thing you've seen in weeks that isn't a dust-tinted sky, or the purple bruises on your knees. So, naturally, you send it with your next letter. I made a new friend. He spits less than Tucker, and has better conversational skill. You debate adding the caption, Operation Desert Spit, but decide against it. She never liked puns, or maybe she did. It's getting hard to remember the finer details. You try to hear her laugh when you write things like that, but sometimes it comes out sounding like your own, strained and unfamiliar. Historical interlude. Polaroids weren't standard military equipment in Iraq, but plenty of soldiers brought them anyway. They captured a raw, unfiltered version of the war. Blurry, sunburnt, oddly intimate. Some were sent home, others were taped to walls, dashboards, helmets. One unit reportedly kept a camel wall of every animal they'd encountered with a name and rank assigned. Your camel gets the name Major Sass. He becomes a mascot for the week. You write a short series of fake dispatches in his voice. "Dear Pentagon, I have seen the humans. They are confused and poorly hydrated. Recommend more sunscreen and less Nickelback. Yours, Madge." Sass. You send that too. No explanation. Just the note and the photo. Later someone says, "You're weird, man." You nod. "I'm surviving." They nod back. That night the stars come out sharp and cold. You lie on your back, staring up through a gap in the tarp, thinking about how ridiculous this all is. How you're in the middle of a war, mailing camel pictures like you're on a gap year. You wonder if she laughs when she opens your envelopes. You hope she saves them. You hope she reads them twice. Curiosity corner. Camel units were actually used in historical warfare, just not in Iraq during the 2000s. The U.S. Army Camel Corps existed briefly in the 1850s, testing camel use in the American Southwest. Historians still argue whether the project failed because of logistics or because the camels were just too grumpy to deal with officers. You keep writing letters that spiral between the absurd and the sacred. One is just a list of smell: burnt rubber diesel gun oil, pine air freshener someone hung from their belt, cinnamon gum sweat, and under that, more sweat hope. You don't know what that smells like, but you write it anyway. You add, "If you ever want to recreate this moment at home, set your oven to 500, throw in some crayons, and stand next to a bus muffler. Then cry softly." You grin while writing it, not because it's funny, because it's real. And being real here is its own kind of rebellion. You see a new guy sitting alone near the comms tent. He's holding a letter in both hands like it might explode. You ask, "First one?" He nods. You sit with him, not close, just nearby. Eventually he says, It's from my dad. He hasn't written me since high school. You nod. He says, I don't know if I should write back. You say, you don't have to. Just don't throw it away. He doesn't. Academic whisper. There's an ongoing debate among war historians about the difference between letters of survival and letters of return. The former are written to stay sane, the latter to stay connected. Some letters do both, some neither. They're just letters, and sometimes that's more than enough. You pull out your own letter that night and reread one from the archive. It's the one you wrote the day the mail truck didn't come. The ink's smudged. The fold is worn soft. You add a line at the bottom. Still nothing, still writing. Isn't that something? And below that, you draw the camel again. Because if nothing else, you've learned this. The absurd has a way of saving you when nothing else can. You stop writing, dear her name, and start writing, dear you. It happens gradually, like forgetting the lyrics to a favorite song you used to sing without thinking. At first, you just skip the name. Then you forget the exact curve of her handwriting. Then you aren't sure if she ever said she liked daffodils, or if you made that up. So now it's just, dear you. It's safer in a way, more flexible. You could be her, could be anyone, could be the version of her that exists only in your letters now. Or maybe it's for the you that existed before the war. You're not sure anymore, but you still write. Dear you, today, I watched a spider build a web in a bullet hole. I think that's a metaphor, but I'm too tired to figure it out. Historical reflection. The Iraq War prompted over 30,000 soldiers to use the Army's official email system for correspondence. But handwritten letters persisted. Even in 2006, when cell phones and satellite internet grew more common, many still chose to write by hand. Some said it made the words feel truer. Others admitted it was the only way to talk without being interrupted. Tucker starts doing the same, writing to you. He says it's like writing to the idea of home. You nod. The new guy, Lee, tries it too. His first letter starts with, Dear you, I don't know if you exist, but today the sand looked like snow, and I figured someone should know that. You all agree that's the most poetic thing anyone's written this week. You copy the line and tape it above your cot. You write, Dear you, my boots are now older than my patience. I'd kill for socks without holes. I'd settle for socks that don't smell like existential dread. You sign it with a coffee ring. Because everything here, stain. Weird war tangent. One soldier reportedly sent an entire series of letters home to a fictional recipient named Captain Crunch. Each letter detailed the serial mascot's alleged war crimes and breakfast blunders. His mother framed them. She said it was the only time her son ever made her laugh and cry in the same envelope. You keep one letter in your wallet now, folded so tight the paper feels like cloth. It's your lifeboat, the one you'll carry if everything else burns. You rewrite it every few weeks, even if nothing changes, just to remember how the words feel in your hand. You tell you about the sunrises, the ones that bleed orange over the sandbags and feel like they've forgiven you for not sleeping again. You tell you about a bird that landed on the barrel of your rifle and just stared. You tell you that the war is louder some days, and on other days, it's just a low hum under your ribs. Dear you, today the quiet scared me more than the rockets. What kind of person is afraid of silence? You're that kind of person now. Academic sidebar. Some analysts say the shift from named letters to open-ended you letters in war zones mirrors emotional displacement, that it reflects the loss of personal anchoring. Others think it's just easier, less pressure, fewer expectation. You're riding into the wind instead of trying to aim. You think maybe both are true. That night mail call happens again. Same names, same absences, but someone gets a package wrapped in grocery store paper. Inside is a small plastic dinosaur and a sticky note that says, "In case the enemy needs a distraction." You laugh so hard, you almost cry. You ask who sent it. He shrugs. "No idea, there's no name." You hold the little dinosaur like it's sacred. You write about him. "Dear you, I found hope in a green plastic stegosaurus today." He doesn't blink. He doesn't ask questions. He just stands there like he believes I'll be okay. So I believe it, too. You sign that one with a doodle, a smiley face, 2 dots, and a crooked line. It feels childish, which is why you keep it. Because some days you need to write to someone who existed before you learned what war really smells like. The chow hall smells like wet cardboard and canned regret. You're halfway through a tray of rubbery eggs when someone says, "If I die here, tell my mom I died from this omelet." You snort, laugh, coffee up your nose. The guy next to you solemnly adds, "This isn't even eggs. This is synthetic poultry optimism." You grab your notebook and jot that phrase down. Synthetic poultry optimism. It's going in a letter, no doubt. That morning turns into one of those weirdly philosophical ones. Maybe it's the heat. Maybe it's the caffeine substitute they're serving that tastes like sadness and battery acid. But someone brings up why we write letters at all. You all go quiet for a second. Then Lee, the new guy, says, "I think it's boredom. And maybe hope. Like a bored kind of hope." You nod. Then Tucker chimes in. "I write letters because I like pretending someone out there is waiting to know how many times I almost tripped over my own rifle." You raise your cup. 2 awkward truths and literary lies. Historical musing. During World War I, soldiers were allowed to send field postcards with pre-written phrases like, "I am well," or "I have been admitted to hospital," with the instruction to cross out what didn't apply. Any personal writing was discouraged. By contrast, the Iraq War troops often wrote freely, uncensored, which led to letters full of poetry, confessions, and very bad coffee reviews. You finish your meal, if you can call it that, and write, "Dear you, I've had philosophical debates over powdered eggs. The general consensus is that love letters are written either because we're lonely or because we're still trying to prove we exist. Maybe both." You underline "exist" 3 times. Later that day, someone pins a new page to the fortified poetry corner. It just says, "I write letters so I don't forget how to use my inside voice." It's unsigned, but it stays up for days. Curiosity, corner. Did you know that Pablo Neruda's love poems were banned in some military camps because soldiers were copying them into their letters too often? True story. One commander reportedly confiscated a notebook and said, "This isn't a war journal, it's a soap opera." You start a letter with, "Dear you, I think if someone read all my letters in order, they'd think I'm emotionally unstable, lactose intolerant, and deeply afraid of camels." You pause, then add, "And they'd be right." You draw a tiny camel. Again. You've started doing that in every letter, like a signature, like a joke only you and she, or maybe just you, would understand. That night, the base gets quiet. No drills, no convoys, no shouting, just the soft hum of a generator and someone's low whistle in the dark. Probably Tucker. He thinks whistling keeps the rats away. You sit outside, legs stretched, pen resting against your knee. You're not sure what you're writing tonight. It starts as a list, then a memory, then a letter. "Dear you, I don't remember what day it is, but I remember how you used to squeeze my hand 3 times, once for each word. I do the same to my helmet strap now. I think it still counts." You think about sending it, then don't. Instead, you write a different letter. Just 1 line. "Tell me a story that has nothing to do with war." You fold it and drop it in the mail bin, even though you know no one will answer. Academic detour. Military psychologists have long studied the language of wartime correspondence. The conclusion? Letters often shift from external to internal over time. At first, soldiers describe events. Later they describe thoughts. and eventually they write like they're talking to themselves, even when they're not. You find yourself doing that more and more, writing about smells, about the way the wind feels sharp on your teeth, about how one of your boots squeaks now, and no one can figure out why. You write, "Dear you, today I spent 45 minutes trying to get a butterfly to land on my finger. It didn't. I consider that a personal betrayal." You smile as you fold the page. You imagine someone reading it far away, shaking their head, thinking, "What is he doing over there?" You hope they laugh. You hope they remember you as someone who tried to chase butterflies between air raids, because that version of you still feels real and worth writing about. You bury the letters behind the barracks. Not all of them, just the ones that feel too real, the ones you're afraid of rereading, the ones that crack something open in your chest when you hold them. You choose a quiet spot behind the latrine wall where the wind doesn't blow as hard and the dirt is soft enough to dig with a mess kit spoon. Tucker watches you for a second, then mutters, "You writing a will or planting emotional vegetables?" You smirk. Little bit of both. You wrap the letters in plastic, double-bagged with Ziploc stolen from the med tent. You even drop in a packet of silica gel like it's going to help preserve your heart. Then you dig. The dirt is stubborn, full of tiny rocks and spent casing. It takes longer than you expect. You lower the bundle gently, like you're tucking in a child, then cover it with dust and a flat stone. No marker, no cross, just silence. Dear you, I buried a part of myself today, not because I wanted to forget, but because remembering it all at once hurts too much. You don't send that letter either. Historical nod. Soldiers in World War II sometimes buried letters and photographs before leaving bases they weren't sure they'd return to, not out of fear, but as a ritual, a psychological breadcrumb trail, proof that something tender once lived there. Some of those bundles were found years later, unearthed by locals or bulldozers. Most weren't. Later, Tucker offers you a warm Sprite from someone's care package. You toast with it, like it's champagne. To emotional vegetables, you say. To mold-proof trauma, he replies. The two of you drink in silence. The next day, there's a mortar scare. You hit the ground so hard your teeth rattle. When it's over, you sit in the dust, fingers trembling, and your first thought is, "Are the letters okay?" You laugh. You actually laugh. Everyone thinks you've cracked. You kind of have. That night, you sneak back to the spot and check. They're still there, untouched, dry. You exhale like you've been holding your breath for hours. You add a new letter. "Dear you, I'm still afraid of losing what I haven't even sent, but maybe burying it means I trust it enough to survive without me." Curiosity detour. Some troops during the Iraq War started unofficial time capsules beneath their bunks or behind tool sheds, stuffed with patches, energy drink tabs, photographs, and sometimes even unsent letters. The idea was simple. If they didn't come back, maybe someone would find these and know they were more than numbers, more than uniforms. You think about that as you watch a lizard do push-ups on a nearby rock. Seriously, lizard push-ups. Nature's gym. You write about it. Dear you, today a lizard showed more discipline than half our unit. He did 5 push-ups, stared me down, and left. I think I've found my new life coach. You tape that one to your locker. You write another. Dear you, the sandstorm came through again today. It felt like the sky was trying to erase the whole base. I stood still and let it happen, and when it passed, I was still here. Maybe that counts for something. You don't bury that one. You slip it into your pocket and carry it all day. Academic murmur. Some scholars believe that soldiers used physical rituals, like burying letters or carrying tokens, as a way to reclaim agency in a space where they had none. When orders and violence dictated everything else, choosing where a memory lived gave them a kind of freedom. You believe it. Later that week, someone finds a photo under a loose floor tile. It's black and white, creased, a man in uniform holding a child. Nobody recognizes him. You pass it around. No name, no date. You add it to the poetry corner with a note. He mattered, even if we never knew him. You write that same line into your next letter. Dear you, if I vanish, promise you'll remember at least one story. Any story, even if it's the one about the lizard. You smile, then you sleep better than you have in weeks. You find the letter tucked inside a care package of someone else's snacks. You were just reaching for a bag of gummy worms, a rare treasure, when your hand grazed paper, folded, cream-colored, scented faintly of soap and something like lavender. Definitely not yours. You glance around the tent. No one's watching. No one's counting gummy worm. You pull the letter free like it might explode. It's addressed to My Forever. No name, no unit, no address, no hint of where it's supposed to go. The handwriting is soft, curvy. Every dot on every I is a perfect little circle. You read the first line. I don't know where you are, but I'm still setting your place at the table. It hits like a punch made of honey. You reread it 3 times, then you fold it again, carefully, reverently, and you don't put it back. Instead, you bring it back to your cot. Later that night, under the glow of your flashlight and the sound of Tucker snoring like a diesel engine in a rain barrel, you write a response. You don't know why. You just do. Dear Forever, I found your letter between gummy worms and powdered lemonade. I don't know if you meant it for me, but I needed it. So I'm writing back, because your table sounds better than this folding chair in the desert, and I'd rather eat hope than this Chow Hall cornbread. You sign it. Simply, another you. Historical insert. There are archived cases of soldiers receiving mail addressed to others during the chaos of wartime logistics. When mailbags ripped or labels fell off, letters got shuffled, reassigned, or simply found. Some were destroyed. Others were answered, creating anonymous, heartfelt correspondences that crossed units, branches, and even nationalities. You tape the response under your bunk. But the next morning, something compels you to take it down. Instead of keeping it, you put it in the outgoing mail bin. No return address, no real destination. You tell yourself, maybe someone else will find it the way I did. Maybe that's the point. That same day, a sandstorm rolls in like a wrathful librarian. The entire base disappears into wind and grit. You feel the dust fill your ears, your boots, your notebook, your very soul. The world turns beige and vibrating. You wrap your face and crouch low, laughing despite yourself. Later, once it clears, you find that someone has pinned a laminated copy of the Dear Forever letter to the message board in the mess hall. It's unsigned, but it's there. And below it, someone else has scrawled, Dear Forever, the seat is still open. Save me a drink. Curiosity. Corner. Soldiers have long created anonymous love walls, public boards, logs, even latrine stalls, where they left pieces of unsent letters or quotes from home. Some were pure poetry. Others just said things like, don't name the rats. It makes them harder to kill. The practice continues today, digitally, on forums and message boards. Back in your tent, you feel a weird pressure in your chest, like the war isn't just something happening outside anymore, like it lives in the soft spaces, the places love letters hide. You write another. Dear you, I borrowed someone else's goodbye today. Hope that's okay. I think it made me feel closer to the idea of coming back. You fold it. You don't mail it. You slide it into the cracks of your bunk, under the frame, near the place you store your extra socks and stolen pepper packets. You leave it there like a talisman. Later, Tucker walks by and says, you look like someone who just kissed a ghost. You shrug. Maybe I did. Academic echo. Literature scholars sometimes refer to wartime letters as paper bridges, connections between people, past and future selves, or imagined relationships. In the case of found letters, those bridges become floating, detached from origin or destination, but still capable of carrying meaning. You write one last note that night, short, scrawled, "Dear you, I hope someone reads this when I'm not looking. I hope they know it meant something, even if they never knew me." You tape it to the underside of the message board in the latrine, because sometimes you write letters you never mean to send, and sometimes they're the ones that matter most. You try to send everything again. You don't even know why this time. Maybe it's superstition, maybe it's guilt, maybe it's just the strange mood that settles in after 30 consecutive days without rain and 7 without decent coffee. You gather the letters, some new, some old, a few rewritten entirely. No names, no stamps, just words, folded and refolded until the creases look like vein. The mail bin is fuller than usual. You glance at the pile, envelopes labeled Mom, Baby, You, Anyone. You drop yours in, then you drop another, and another. No names, just messages. "Dear you, I still hum when I brush my teeth. I still tuck my laces into my boots. Even when no one's watching, I'm still here. Dear someone, I'm writing you even if I'm the only one who reads it. That's enough today. Dear ghost, I forgive you, even if I don't know what for yet. You send them all." Historical quirk. The U.S. military postal system, known as APO, Army Post Office, once processed over 4 million pieces of mail per day during World War II. During the Iraq War, the numbers were lower, but still staggering. Entire warehouses in Kuwait served as sorting stations, some so chaotic they resembled flea markets of human emotion, and yet letters still got through. Sometimes you check the bin the next morning. All your letters are still there, untouched. No one came, no truck, no Rami, the cassette tape playing mailman, just dust and inertia. You stare at the stack for a long time, then without thinking, you pick them back up. They feel heavier now, curiosity break. A few soldiers created personal dead letter archives, boxes of unsent mail they never intended to deliver. Some were kept under cots, others mailed home intentionally for safekeeping. One guy laminated all his and buried them inside a gutted microwave. He said, "If nukes drop, at least my feelings are fireproof." You carry your bundle back to your cot, lay it on your lap. You consider burning them. You consider rewriting them. You consider doing nothing. Instead, you open one. It's an older one. You can tell from the way the ink has faded, just enough to feel like someone else's voice. You read, "Dear you, there's a wind here that carries stories if you stand still long enough. I stood still today, and I heard yours." You smile. You don't remember writing that, but it sounds like you, a better version of you, one who had enough energy to believe the wind was poetic and not just annoying. You add a note to the bottom. "I still hear it, sometimes." Then you write a brand new letter. One line. "Dear you, maybe this wasn't meant to arrive. Maybe it was meant to be written." You fold it, carefully, slowly. This one doesn't go in the bin. It goes in your sock, right next to the older one. Academic sidebar. There's a philosophical debate about communication without reception. Does a message that never reaches its intended audience still matter? Some argue yes. It's the act of expression that holds power. Others insist that meaning is co-created, and without a reader, a letter is just a monologue in a bottle. Tonight, you side with the poets. You write one more. "Dear you, if someone finds this years from now, in a place where the wind still bites and the sand still whispers, know that I was real, and I cared enough to try." You seal it with a small strip of medical tape, because that's all you've got left. You don't send it. You tuck it behind your name tag, inside your flak vest, right over your heart. It's ridiculous. It's perfect. The war ends. Well, officially. Command calls it a transition. The media calls it a withdrawal. Your CO calls it a logistical nightmare. You call it confusing. There's no final battle, no grand send-off, just a slow unfurling of packed duffels, debriefing forms, and last-minute checklists. And silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that buzzes in your ears like a question with no answer. People start leaving in clusters. Some cheer, some cry, some act like it's just Tuesday. Tucker gives away half his stuff and says, "If I ever see these boots again, it'll be too soon." Then he hugs you without warning and vanishes into the back of a transport truck. You sit on your cot, staring at the places where others used to be. Their outlines linger, not physically, just in the way the tent breathes differently now.
You reach under your bunk and retrieve the archive, the buried letters, the unsent thoughts, the folded dreams. You brush off the dust. You don't open them. You just hold them. Dear you, I didn't forget. I didn't stop. I just ran out of ways to say it. Historical framing. The official end of combat operations in Iraq was declared on August the 31st, 2010. But troops remained for years under different mission names. Historians still debate whether it truly ended or simply changed uniform.
Many soldiers reported the hardest part wasn't combat, but the absence of it, the quiet, the what now. You're not sure how to say goodbye, so you don't. You gather your thing, fold your blanket like it still matters. Leave behind one letter taped under your cot. It reads, "If you find this, write back." No address, no name. You slip the rest into your rucksack. Somewhere between checkpoint and airfield, someone taps your shoulder. "Hey, you dropped this? It's not yours. It's a letter, folded once, no envelope, just one line. You mattered here." You stare at it, like it's glowing. Then you smile and tuck it into your chest pocket, over your heart. You don't ask who wrote it. You don't need to. Curiosity echo. There are letters that never got mailed, now housed in museums and archives. Soldiers' handwriting, unsent goodbyes. One, unsigned, ends with, "If you ever read this, know that I kept thinking of your laugh when I was scared." It's on display in glass, but no one knows who wrote it, or to whom. You fly home with a duffel full of worn socks, melted granola bars, and ghosts. The first time someone asks you, "How was it?" you say, "Hot," because how do you explain a year made of dirt, letters, laughter, loss, and lizards doing push-ups? You don't. You just keep the letters. Somewhere in a shoebox, somewhere under your bed, somewhere between then and now. Sometimes you reread one, not always the ones to her. Sometimes the ones to yourself, or the replies you never sent, or the ones that just started with "Dear You" and ended with "Still here." And now? Now you stop writing, not because there's nothing left to say, but because for the first time in a long time, you feel heard. Closing calm, 300 words. So now, as you lie in your bed, let's leave the desert behind. Let's let the dust settle softly. Let the wind grow still. There's no more mail to send tonight. No more words to fold. No more sand beneath your boots. No more buzzing generators or distant echoes of the things you never said. Just breath. Steady, even breath. You are home, whatever that means now. The letters, all of them, real or not, sent or hidden, still live inside you. They always will. They were the breadcrumb trail you left behind in a storm you couldn't control. They were your proof of life. And now, you get to rest. You've done enough. You've held on long enough. You've whispered into the silence and made it listen. Let it all be still now. Let the sky go dark, not with fear, but with quiet. There's a place at a table, somewhere, still set for you. The stars blink softly overhead, just out of reach. And maybe, just maybe, if the wind ever carries something your way again, it'll be a letter with your name and just one line. You made it. Good night, soldier of words. Sweet dream.